Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for Quest Forum Digital Event. You've joined us for Deploying Chatbots with PeopleSoft Chatbot Integration Framework, presented by Dave Bain and Matthew Havista, People Tools Product Management. A couple of things to let you guys know before we get started. All phone lines are muted. But if you have questions, feel free to drop them through the question module, and we'll answer actually some questions throughout if we can, and then also hold a Q&A session at the end of the session. Also letting you guys know we are recording the session and we'll be posted in our Quest content library, and we'll follow up with you guys on how to access that information shortly after. Saw a few more folks join, so just letting you guys know phone lines are muted, but if you have questions, drop them through the question module and we'll spend some time answering those for you. At this point in time, I'm turning it over to Dave for Deploying Chatbots with PeopleSoft Chatbot Integration Framework.
Thanks very much, Christina. Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's staying safe. Just a quick note that my home office, I am at home here, and like many of us that are working from home, you may hear some background noise. You may hear a dog bark. You may hear a phone ring. You may hear any number of things. I apologize up front if any of that does happen. I'm joined here today with Matthew Havisto. Matthew and I both work on this chatbot. We're both part of People Tools Product Strategy, and we both have been working on the Chatbot Integration Framework. So we're here to basically talk about everything that we're doing within PeopleSoft in terms of the platform, the Chatbot Integration platform that we have. Please ask questions as we go. One of us will be monitoring the chats as we go. So if I say anything or if anything comes up that is confusing, please go ahead and ask the questions. The way that we'd like to, let's make sure, there we go. Just a quick reminder, I am going to be talking about some things that are coming up in the future. So we'll put the safe harbor up there. The way that I'd like to do this is I'm going to spend just a moment talking about, what chatbots are all about, what just the basic thinking of what chatbots are. Then I'm going to level set what a chatbot is, right? And that is we'll look at the basic flow of a chatbot in PeopleSoft and what is going on behind the scenes. I think it's really helpful to get all the pieces, put all the pieces together and see what's happening. Then we're going to cover the PeopleSoft Chatbot Integration Framework. We'll look at all the things that we are delivering to make it easier for you to implement chatbots. I'm going to talk about the technology that we're using in the background. That's the Oracle Digital Assistant. And then finally, what are the things that you have to know to get started with chatbots? Okay, so that let's just kind of spend a moment talking about the value of chatbots. I'm not going to do a demo. There's plenty of sessions that have been up, and you can see those. Some of those sessions are recorded. You can go back into those sessions and look at some of the demos that we've had. Just very briefly, if you're not familiar with chatbots, the chatbot to me means that we are taking our user interfaces and we are just kind of turning them inside out, if that makes sense. So when we build a user interface now, we try to imagine, or we try to think about all of the things that our users will want to do. And then we put that together in a form that the user can find what they want to do, right? Whether it be through a menu or whether it be through a related action or whatever. So if they need to do something, they have to be able to find that thing that they can do. We know that that's difficult, so we've put search in. We've put an elaborate enterprise search in to help them find those things that they do, right, that they want to do. You take a step back from that and you say, that's all good, but it's still imperfect. What would be the perfect interface? And the perfect interface would be if I walked into, or if I started an application and then I just told the application, this is what I want to do. I want to check my expenses. I want to sign up for an absence request. I need to look up somebody in the company directory. So I just go to a place and I tell the system, this is what I want to do. Or I ask the system for some information. How do I change my password, whatever it is. I ask the system for those things that to navigate the system. And it responds by either giving me the information, giving me the ability to do that, or taking me to that place that I need to go. So that is a completely different paradigm. It's a completely different way of using the system. And I think just in thinking about it, we can all think about just how beneficial that would be, and how much easier it would be to use the these very, very complex systems that we have. As far as the enterprise, think about the benefits that you can get by using this, right? The value of digital assistants, right? You can measure that with how can we replace, how can we make our users more efficient? How can we get them to use the system more efficiently? That's kind of half of it, and the other half is how can we stop this this backlog of calling the help desk to ask to do various different things. So if there's something that needs to be done, or some information that needs to be available to people that people use, they pick up, they call the help desk, and they get that information. Let's put that into a chat, and what that can do is that can really reduce the load that you have to manage in your help desk. So I think we can all clearly agree that that there's a lot of benefits here for chatbots. We at PeopleSoft, we are in just the beginning throes of kind of understanding and building and releasing what I believe will be a real full-featured rollout of chatbots within the PeopleSoft application. Okay, so with that, let's stop there and say, okay, we've gone through, we buy into that, or we don't, whatever. We buy into that. Now let's talk about what this is technically. What do we need to understand about a chatbot? So basically, what we are looking at the PeopleSoft application as is today. You know, just put no changes to it. Put a little asterisk there because there are a little bit of changes, but basically your PeopleSoft application as is. And then there's on the other side, there's the Oracle Digital Assistant. Now, the Oracle Digital Assistant is a platform as a service application, so it's a PaaS service. It is a subscribe to service, so it is outside of PeopleSoft, and it is the technology that is being used to drive the chatbots from PeopleSoft. Okay, so we connect to the Oracle Digital Assistant. It's managing think of it as the conversational flow, and then it's returning back to PeopleSoft. So we'll get into what the Oracle Digital Assistant is, but the next thing I want to do is I want to take you on a transactional ride of when I sit down in my PeopleSoft system and I open up the chat window, which is part of the PeopleSoft system now. What is actually happening behind the scenes? How is this all working? And I'm just going to kind of walk through the schematics of what's happening there. So if I open this window, so first of all, the assumption is I'm opening this window from within a PeopleSoft application. So I have been authenticated. That's already happened. It knows who I am, and I open it up in in this case it's the absence assistant bot, and I ask it, what is my vacation balance? Okay. Now, the first thing that happens is we from PeopleSoft connect to the Oracle Digital Assistant. Now, PeopleSoft is where is your PeopleSoft residing? Chances are it's on premises, right? It's in your data center. Maybe it's in a cloud. Maybe it's on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. It could be, maybe it's hosted by a third party. Maybe it's hosted by Oracle. Any number of places that it could be residing. That yellow bar that you see there, that connectivity, is going through a channel. And what that channel is, it's the technology that's being used to communicate from your PeopleSoft application to ODA. The channel that we support right now today in PeopleSoft is the web channel, which basically means it's going to do an HTTP request back and forth between Oracle Digital Assistant. Now, the payloads that are between PeopleSoft and Oracle Digital Assistant are very small, they're very light, so we're not uploading a massive amount of data. We're not downloading a massive amount of data. So these are relatively quick calls back and forth. Oracle Digital Assistant supports many, many additional channels. Facebook chat, it supports Slack, it supports any number of different channels. Currently, we at PeopleSoft only support the web channel, the Oracle web channel. And in addition, we will be supporting the text channel very soon. So you'll be able to use a standard texting application, call a text to a certain number and get that fulfilled. Okay, so that's communicating over to the platform as a service, right? The first thing that Oracle Digital Assistant does is it takes that sentence that I typed. In this case, it was pretty basic, vacation balance. It takes that sentence and it breaks it down using this natural language processing engine. Now I could have typed, I want to know what my vacation balance is. Please give me my vacation balance. What is my vacation balance? Or just vacation balance. I could have phrased that any number of different ways. And it's this natural language processing engine that's sitting in Oracle Digital Assistant that's going to parse through that, and it's going to translate my request into the user intent. What am I trying to do, or what am I trying to say here? It's going to get the entities, right? The entities are those business objects that we care about. And it's going to track down the utterances. The utterances is basically the phrasing that I'm using, right? The difference between saying vacation balance and what is my vacation balance, or please give me my vacation balance, or whatever this is. Those are the utterances. So it translates all that, gets into breaks it down. If it can't recognize what it's doing, it's going to send it back, and it's going to say, I'm sorry, I don't understand what your request is. Now, if it doesn't understand, that statement is going to be logged, and an administrator will go back, maybe daily, maybe weekly, look at these logs and see what phrases your users are using that are not understood. So if I said, I really, really, really need to know what my vacation balance is, and 20 people said that in the same day, then you might think, hey, this is something that we want to account for, so you can make the necessary changes and account for that phrasing. Okay. The next thing it does is when it figures out what the intent is, it drops into what we call the skill. And the skill is basically the conversational flow. So this is managing the state of where the conversation is and where you can and cannot go based upon the discussion. So if you're in the middle of a discussion about a vacation balance, it's going to keep your place in that vacation balance and so forth. But when it figures out what your intent is, it drops down to the skill and it says, okay, here I am in this skill. How do I fulfill this request? And everything that all the instructions that are necessary to fulfill that request are there. In this case, it's I need to go out to the PeopleSoft system in order to get that vacation balance fulfilled. So it will drop into what is called the Node.js container, which basically holds some very important components. It holds a standard interface that the Oracle Digital Assistant programming interface has. And it also includes the interface that's provided by PeopleSoft that has really basically an API to fulfill these requests. And it has a library of PeopleSoft calls to help with these requests, okay? So the first thing that it's going to do is, I don't depict it here, but the first thing it's going to do is it's going to validate the user and make sure that user is authorized to make this call. So if this user is not authorized to make this call, it'll return it back and it'll say, I'm sorry, but you don't have authorization, or I'm not sure exactly what the return is, but an authorization process takes place. Once that is passed, then the actual connection is made, and this is all through RESTful services. The authorization is done through RESTful services, and the actual data is accessed through RESTful services. And we'll kind of dissect those RESTful services in a bit. But the a connection is made back to PeopleSoft, all through the integration gateway, gets back into the to process that message, and we pull out that vacation balance. We access that vacation balance. Now we're turning around and passing all of this information back. So the RESTful service, which was a synchronous request, gets a response. That response is parsed through in this Node.js dialog. It's returned into the skill. Now the skill sees that the request was successful, the absence has been populated, and inside the skill is the definition of how we want to respond to that request. So that response is formatted in the skill, it's returned, and it's returned through the channel that was originally used to make this request, and the balance is displayed. Okay, so that gives you an idea of the magic, or the what's going on behind the scenes. So all the meat of processing the conversation is done in the Oracle Digital Assistant. All the supplying of the data and the information is done in PeopleSoft and RESTful services with PeopleSoft, and the conversational flow is done in Digital Assistant with this skill. Okay, so that's the conversation. So we look at that and we say, what are all the pieces that touched PeopleSoft here? What are all the things that need to be done? Now we could say that look, Oracle ODA Digital Assistant is a technology. PeopleSoft has the ability to number one, build an HTML page and make a call out to it. Number two, provide support for RESTful services. So we could attach any PeopleSoft system and say, just go out there and build it. But we know that there are things that we could really do to benefit running chatbots within PeopleSoft. We could provide that a way to nicely define that connection. Remember that web SDK or that web HTTP connection back to Oracle Digital Assistant. We could make it so it's easier to connect. We could provide a chat window within PeopleSoft so that it's seamless for you to hook up a chat. We could help with the authorization. We know that it's a little bit difficult if we didn't provide this capability of saying to ODA, remember, you don't log into ODA. ODA is really a pass-through technology. So the authentication comes from PeopleSoft. So we have to have a way of coming back and saying, hey, who was this that made the request, making sure that that's all secure. So providing that loop back into PeopleSoft to make sure that that's all secure. And then a nice easy way to build and update our skills, an easy way to call these RESTful services, because when you think about it, these chatbots can be very, very chatty, right? It can be that we're going after a lot of information from PeopleSoft to pull back into our chatbots. And if you had to make a full-fledged RESTful interface through integration broker for each one of those every time, it might become too much of an effort to support some of these chatbots. So we wanted to make a nice, easy way to call these RESTful services. And then finally, a definition of what the life cycle is, right? How do we deliver these chatbots and so forth? All of this is wrapped up in what we call the PeopleSoft Chatbot Integration Framework. Okay. Now, this is originally delivered in 8.5.8, and it has been backported into 8.5.7 patch 7. So the basic rule here is that if you want to use PeopleSoft chatbots and the Chatbot Integration Framework, you have to be on tools 8.5.7.07 or above. If you're prior to that with tools, then you're basically going to be on your own. And all of those things that I listed in that previous slide, those are things that you're going to have to account for yourself. So what's part of the Chatbot Integration Framework? The first thing is the chatbot user interface, right? That's the window that's displayed to, well, there it is right there on the right of the screen. that is provided inside this this chatbot UI, so it deploys very easily into the PeopleSoft system. The second is a standard authorization process that we have added specifically for chatbots that's PS token based that will allow ODA to go back to your PeopleSoft and for authorization. Now in 858, we also offer an OAuth 2 process. In order to use the OAuth 2, you have to be you have to subscribe to Oracle's Identity Cloud Service, IDCS. We know that the Identity Cloud Service resides in the cloud, so consequently, it's not a product that a lot of our PeopleSoft users use. So we didn't require that. We just say that if you want to use OAuth 2, that option is available. You can get to it through IDCS. Otherwise, you can use this PS token. We have delivered the application services framework. I'm going to talk about what that is. I'm going to show some screens on what that is all about. It's essentially makes it easy for you to create these services. And then we created this Oracle Digital Assistant PeopleSoft library that resides in ODA that's used to say, how do I do authentication within PeopleSoft where there's an automatic API to do that? How do I call back for RESTful services where there's a standard way to format and call those that's provided in this API? And that anytime a specific chatbot creates a custom component, and the custom component, this is component, of course, is a PeopleSoft term. It's also an ODA term. The custom component is an ODA term for information that's being provided into the chatbot. Anytime we create one of those, we can enhance it with this PeopleSoft API to make it easy to get information out of the PeopleSoft structures and into this custom component. And that's all provided in that ODA PeopleSoft library. Then we get to the lifecycle guidelines. Now, this is where we're gonna have to put a couple of asterisks here and just kind of say that we are in a transition phase with chatbots. The original chatbots that were released and the chatbot architecture framework that we released, we did so through our PUM images. And what that meant is that we would create these skills and the utterances and the intents and the entities, all those pieces that we learned about out in ODA. We would create all those, we would package them up into files, and we would deliver those in PUM images. Then in the PUM images, you would extract those files and you would import them into ODA for your skills, and you could start working and training and working with your chatbot, right? Now, there were a couple of problems with that. The biggest problem was we were delivering a skill, say absence skill. You were installing that and calling that the absence skill. Now, there was no way for us to provide a nice, easy framework of managing the life cycle of that. So any change that we made, any change that you made, you put into the skill. Any change that we made, you would have to merge into the skill, and over time it would become more and more and more as these products grow and grow and grow. It would be more and more complex. Consequently, we have changed that, and I'll talk about what the impacts to the life cycle are in just a little bit. What we have done is we've moved from delivering our skills in the skill store, from in files to delivering them in the skills store, the ODA skills store. Now, what the ODA Oracle Digital Assistant Skills Store is it's a repository of skills that are provided by, currently, it's only Oracle applications. And those Oracle applications are PeopleSoft apps or the Oracle SaaS apps, okay? So our PeopleSoft skills will be placed into the store, and to use them, you can pull those from the store, put those into your Oracle Digital Assistant environment, and start running with them. Now, the version skills there, the skill store gives us the ability to to deliver a skill like the absence skill, make it version 1. Make changes to it and deliver an absence skill version 1.1 or 2, and then version 3, version 4, version 5, and so forth, and continue to deliver different versions. The benefit that this has is that we can align our skills that we deliver with requirements that are delivered in PUM images. So we can say version 1 of absence requires PUM image 34. Then we could say version 2 of absence requires PUM image 36, and so forth. Now you can pull out 34 and you can work on 34, and you can version 1 of the skill, and you can stay on that skill until you do a get current with 34, or you put the pieces in from 34, and then once that's done, then you can pull over the next version of the skill. In addition, there's an extensibility toolkit, but I'll just kind of talk about that in a little bit. But it's much easier to manage these within the skills store than it is to manage them with the files. They're listed the minimum version of the applications that essentially we've said that the minimum requirement for tools is 85707. We've also delivered things within the enterprise components that are in the PUM images. The minimum for the applications is 31 and 33 for FSCM. Those are to run delivered chatbots. There are also minimum images for the campus solutions, minimum for the rest of the pillars that we have. My suggestion is to go out to PeopleSoftInfo.com, look at the chatbot page. You can navigate through the tools menu, and it'll have the specific requirements, minimum requirements for each one of the applications. Okay, so some of the things that we deliver now within this chatbot integration framework is an easy way to set up your chatbots within PeopleSoft. So what are some of the things that you have to do? You have to be able to identify to ODA what skill you're talking to, right? And what that is this bot app ID right there. That is a unique identifier that comes from ODA that says I'm the absent skill that's being delivered. When you deploy that skill in ODA, it creates that. You can take that, put that back into the PeopleSoft application, and now we know what skill we're talking to, and we know what channel we're talking to when we get there. The chatbot type is basically how that's going to be run, whether it's a tile or an icon. And you think about it, the style is our PeopleSoft applications are styled, right? So they have a certain style and branding, right? This chat interface or the chat dialogue that's coming is coming from ODA. So it's coming from it's built and presented by ODA, and it's brought into our application. So it doesn't look like it's styled from our application. If you want to style it, if you want to make it look proper, you go in and you brand it. We have a way to do that. A couple of additional things that you do are you're going to identify who the proxy user is. That's for that back end when we're doing the authorization. We're using a proxy user that has very limited integration access, and also the anytime that we make a call back from ODA to PeopleSoft, we're using this proxy user for the RESTful services, and then doing the authorization at a different level. That's defined, and then I think I mentioned before the Web SDK. That's the chatbot UI that goes into the PeopleSoft applications. So these are all things that you have to set up, and this chatbot integration framework makes it easier to do that. Now I've talked through a couple of times. I've mentioned this application services framework. This is part of Integration Broker is the technology that we use to call RESTful services externally into PeopleSoft. And if you've worked with Integration Broker, you know that you can create RESTful services, right? But you know that they're kind of heavyweight, and maybe you put a component interface, you process them through a component interface or through app classes, whatever. It was our belief that if we required a full-fledged RESTful service from Integration Broker for each time the chatbot was talking back to the PeopleSoft application, it would inhibit the adoption, the creation, and the maintenance of of these chatbots. So what we did is we came up with this technology that we call the Application Services Framework. Now, what the Application Services Framework is it's a metadata-driven standard way of getting information into and out of PeopleSoft applications using a standard REST interface. So what does that all mean? It's using Integration Broker, and it's using a RESTful interface, but every call for request is give me information, it's calling the same service, right? It's saying, give me the information, and in the body of the message is, what is the request, what is the data that I need, and how will this be fulfilled? So each call, it goes over into PeopleSoft, it looks up this application service ID, which is this application service ID. It figures out what the structure of the data is that it needs to collect, and it basically processes everything with an app class. So the easiest way to think of this is think about setting up some very basic metadata for the structure of the information that's coming in, going back, building an app class to get and process that information, whether it's updating to the system or whether it's accessing the system, building an app class to do that, and then registering it here with this application service. That's what the application service framework is, and it's about that. It's got a nice user interface. It has an activity guide to build these services. But I think that you will find that, excuse me, I think that you'll find that building a service for the application service framework is much easier than it is to build a RESTful interface with Integration Broker. And the third thing that needs to be done is configuring the chatbot out in the Oracle Digital Assistant. And essentially what that says is pick up that skill. For that skill, you're going to configure the channel that you're going to use technology-wise. And I mentioned before that we're using the Oracle Web Channel, which is the HTTP requests, basically. There are any number of different channels that can be used. You're free to use the others, but you would have to make sure that the connectivity on the client side was capable of using that. Right now in PeopleSoft, we're only using the web. Eventually, we're going to be using the text as well. You configure the RESTful endpoint, which is how do I get back from ODA? Where's the endpoint? That's your integration, the service integration point for REST services and Integration Broker. You're establishing that. And that's the round trip connectivity that you've got now between PeopleSoft and ODA. Then the next thing you're going to do is you pull in the skill and you use what's called the extensibility toolkit to make changes to the skill. Now this is something new. I should have put 2 asterisks here because this is new as of July. The extensibility toolkit is only available for skills that come from the skills store. So if we delivered this in files, you would not have access to the extensibility toolkit. If it comes through the skills store, you do have access to the extensibility toolkit. And I think that makes sense because if you're implementing these files or delivering these files, then you can kind of make the assumption that this is a skill you own, as opposed to picking it up from the extensibility toolkit, which is something that could be versioned over time.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, go ahead, Matthew.
If a customer has a previously implemented chatbot that they acquired through PUM, and then that skill is then available on the skills store, and they use that to replace the one that they already have, I would assume that they could use the extensibility toolkit then once they have the newer version of that delivered chatbot.
Right. Yeah, that's a real good question. I do have some slides that talk about kind of the changes that coming forward later, but let me address that now. If you have already used skills, and if you already have a subscription to ODA, and if you've already deployed the skills, you can continue to do that. but we will no longer maintain the skills, and we will no longer deliver it in the files. So it is what it is. It's not going to change, and you can continue to use it. If you want to move forward and continue to get changes, then you've got to use the one from the skills store. Okay, and I'll talk about what all that means. I've got some slides to show what that means. Okay. So I mean, think of it as this is a hard switch for us, right? It's a hard switch from going to delivered files to the skills store. Oh, and here is the skills store right here. Yeah, essentially it's out there. It's very easy. Here's the detail of one of these skills that you'll see. Now in the requirements, this isn't up to date, remember, because we don't have skills published yet, technically. So in the requirements here, you will see the minimum ODA version that's required to run this skill. You will also see information that's specific to PeopleSoft. So you will see something like the minimum image level. So if it has if that skill has a hard requirement on HCM or FSCM image, say 35, it would identify that in this right in this skill store in this in the detail here. If for some reason there was a requirement for a PeopleTools patch, either patch or version, it would identify it here. I can't really think of anything that we are doing in PeopleTools that would require a dependency at this point, but if there was, then it would be identified here. So this is the way that you pick it up. You can see down here, there's this is a screenshot of the Oracle Digital Assistant, and you can see down here there's the store. You click on the store, and that takes you to where all of the stores are. There was a question that I had when I was talking, when I was presenting this to a different group, and that is, can partners put skills in the skills store, and can customers put skills in the skills store? And the answer to that is not yet. Right now, the skills store is only Oracle skills. And I mentioned before that it is either the Oracle Fusion or the software as a service apps skills and PeopleSoft skills. So those are the only ones that you'll find in the skills store. It is on the roadmap though for Oracle Digital Assistant to open up the skills store and let either third-party companies put skills in, or partners put skills in, or customers put skills in. I don't want to commit to that, but it is in the roadmap to open up the skill store for others outside of Oracle to put skills in. And it only makes sense, right? And it only makes sense that will be the case. So just real quickly, there's the skill, there's the requirements, the minimum requirements, and that's how that little pull button right there. That's how you will click that, and it'll pull that chatbot from the skill store, and it'll put that in your ODA deployment environment. It's a little bit easier than the work you had to go through to take a file from PUM, extract that file, and import it into Digital Assistant. So I wanted to shift and make sure that I think I have one, maybe two slides on what Oracle Digital Assistant is. You can find a lot more information out on the Oracle side about what Oracle Digital Assistant, and there are sessions. There have been sessions at this conference about what the Oracle Digital Assistant is, and there's one on Friday that was just added that is going to also talk about what ODA is and what how the different products are using that. The key components of the digital assistant are, I've been through these, so this should be pretty much a review. There's the channels, the channel configurator, or how you talk to that digital assistant. There's a number of different technologies that are used. Right, again, we're using the web channel right now. There's the dialog flow execution, which when I stepped through the schematic, I made it kind of clear this is the natural language processor, the utterances, the intents, the entities, and so forth, and then the skills. That's the dialogue flow skills. There's this conversational engine, which is the natural language processor, which is figuring out this person said something. I've got to figure it out and make sure that I can process that. And then there's the backend connectivity, or getting our enterprise data. That's the RESTful services that we talked to about getting information from PeopleSoft. So these are all provided as part of the Oracle Digital Assistant. Now this is a question that comes up. I included this slide because this question comes up quite a bit, and we're all very sensitive to our data and the desires for all of our employees to keep information sensitive. All right, what if I have, well, first of all, information is logged up in ODA, right? So conversations are logged. So if there is ever a problem or there is ever an issue, that information is available. And in addition, you want to see the questions that were asked and the information that was returned, so that you can either debug chatbots or you can train your chatbots, right? I mentioned before, if somebody keeps asking these questions, or all of your employees keep asking for time off, as in I need a break, then you want to be able to support that I need a break question and say, do you really want to ask for time off, right? You can ask for that. So you're constantly in the process. Somebody is in the process of training this. Well, if you have a bot that is maybe providing sensitive data, maybe a credit card number, or payroll information, or who knows what, then you want to make sure that that information is not available to the administrators. So there are security features in the back end of ODA. So if you are getting sensitive information, whether it be bank account numbers, social security numbers, payroll information, credit card information, that type of thing, then that information is masked. It's hidden and it's masked from the user. So ODA does account for that, and you have control. It's a sensitive thing because this is a platform as a service, so it's running in OCI, the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, as a platform, and you need to know and make sure that those people, or Oracle that is running this platform and is managing the technology, doesn't have access to that information, and we don't. Okay. So that's kind of a tour of the chatbots, Chatbot Integration Framework, and Oracle Digital Assistant. So the next thing is how does this all work and where do you begin? So I mentioned that we did a shift. We stopped what we were doing and shifted over into a new facility, and that's the skill store. Now, why did we do this? First of all, it's a lot easier to pick up the skills from a skill store than it is to get them from PUM and to install them from PUM, right? It's a lot easier. Second thing is, it's a lot easier to manage the life cycle of these skills. We can put versions out there. We can identify the PUM images that these are dependent on, and you can take these. You can take the new versions only when you want to. So if you're sitting on a PUM image and you're going to be on it for a while before it's time for you to do a make me current, you can sit on that older version. When you do a make me current, as part of your PUM process, you can get the new version of the skill. So it's selective adoption, the same way the skills are selective adoption, just like PeopleSoft is selective adoption. The other big benefit is the availability of the extensibility toolkit. Okay, that's your ability. Think of it as layers, right? We have the layer of the delivered skill, and you then have the ability to make changes, add your own utterances, add your own entities, add your own skills, change the skill. You can do all of those things at a different level. So you're technically not changing the delivered skill, you're adding your own facade on top of the skills that that we deliver. So when you take the next version, you're putting that next version behind your changes. Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to be 100%, migratable, right? We all know that there's always going to be conflict, especially if you get into conversational flow changes. We all know that there's going to be conflicts, but there's going to be quite a bit of it, like the utterances, right? The saying, I need a break versus I want a vacation. Those things can be kept in files. Your utterances and your intents can be kept at a different level than going in and changing the skill, and that's just that much less that you have to do when you take new versions. So there's a tremendous benefit to getting our skills in the skill store. So what are the things that you have to do to get the chatbots? First of all, you have to license Oracle Digital Assistant. That's an additional fee. Second thing is you need to license. Now that these skills are in the skill store, they must be licensed. So it is a requirement now to license the chatbots. If you've picked up the chatbots from the file, you can use that. You can continue to use that, but you can't get new changes. New changes will only come from the skill store, and those require an additional license. And then the third thing you do, of course, is what we've been talking a lot about here, and that is licensing, or I mean, that's the connectivity from PeopleSoft ODA and from ODA to PeopleSoft. Those things have to be done. I mentioned number 3 because typically the skills in the skill store are working with the SaaS backend applications. We are not a SaaS backend application. If you're a SaaS backend application, all that is done automatically for you because it knows and understands your application, can connect and can do that properly. We have to do that manually. So it's a manual step to make sure that ODA can connect back to your on-premises PeopleSoft application.
Hey, Dave?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So just to be clear, if somebody is using, for example, the absence assistant that they got from the PUM, and they're using that right now, that, as you said, they can continue to use it. When absence assistant is available on the skill store, they could decommission their existing one and take the new absence assistant from the skill store, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
They can continue to use the one that they have, or they can switch over, they can decommission that absence skill and pull the one from the skill store. That's right. So just to go through and kind of circle back and make sure that all of the questions are answered. The platform skill is required to run the PeopleSoft chatbots. That's an ODA platform. The PeopleSoft skills are going to be, right? And when I say going to be, they're going to be made generally available in July. They'll be downloaded from the ODA skill store. A subscription to the PeopleSoft skills is going to be required. It wasn't required before, but it is going to be required to take those skills from the skills store. And by licensing ODA, and this is something that I think is important. By licensing ODA, you have the complete right to use that platform for any skills that you want, as long as it's working with the licensed population. So another way to say that is you can take these PeopleSoft skills and you can connect the PeopleSoft skills to, maybe, you have a different recruiting app, or maybe you've got a CRM app that you want to use for FAQs, or maybe you've got ServiceNow that you want to pull information in. You can customize these PeopleSoft skills to access anything in the back end to pull into your PeopleSoft bots, or you can create any custom bots that you want to that are used by the licensed population. And by licensed population, I mean, if you're licensing for HCM, that's your entire population of employees. If you're licensing for ERP, it's a named set of users. That it may be your entire population, or it may be a subset that is a named set of users. So if you license HCM and you create the ODA chatbots for PeopleSoft, that gives you the ability to go off and create a chatbot, an additional chatbot that maybe uses the Slack channel that's completely outside of HCM, because that ODA license gives you the ability to do that. If you have any questions on that, please add them to the chat or add it to the questions. So what does this all come down to in licensing? It's the platform, the digital assistant platform for Oracle applications is licensed either on an employee or a per named user, right? An employee is $2 per employee. The per named user is $6 per named user. So right off the bat there, you can kind of scratch your head and say, okay, it's 3 times more. That means if my named user community is more than a third of my employees, it probably makes sense to go with the per employee license, right? I mean, just thinking. And then as far as the HCM, they are licensed at the same cost that the Oracle SaaS skills are licensed at. And that's the HCM skills per employee is $3 a month. The ERP skills, those cover things like the whatever we're delivering out of the access to the FSCM, so the expenses and procurement, and there's a number of them on the roadmap. Now these prices, I will say, you can talk to the Oracle application sales. This is not a tech sales, this is an application sales. You can talk to the application sales rep to get more information on these. And I would just kind of say that I would expect these to be discounted a bit. So I wouldn't expect that anybody was paying retail right out of the chute, especially in the fact that we are just now starting to roll out these skills. So we do not have, for either the HCM or the ERP, we do not have complete suites that are going to be implemented. We are rolling out, and we have roadmaps for suites, but they're just not there yet. As far as the planned roadmap, now this is future looking. Some of these are available now. Absence company directory lookup are available now. What are some of the things that we have on the roadmap in the future? Self-service benefits lookup, some payroll information, recruiting, and so there's a number on the HCM product line and on the FSCM product line as well. There's a number of chatbots. I'm not going to get into the details of these. This is the technical session. I do know that we talked quite a bit about the HCM and saw some. I was in that session. I suspect that there were the same in this conference for some of the other product lines as well. And in addition, there's a complete partner ecosystem out here that will help with the chatbots. These are companies that are either providing pre-built chatbots or pre-built implementation paths, or options to help you implement your chatbots, PeopleSoft chatbots in your organization. Okay. I mentioned that you could get more information. There is the PeopleSoft chatbot details page where you can go out. It's on the PeopleSoftInfo.com. You can find it under the tools and framework. If you go to the tools and framework, there's a PeopleSoft chatbot page. This gives you complete, full access to well, here, I remember I mentioned that what were the minimum releases for all the different pillars. There's the minimum releases for all the different pillars. And you can find links to architect diagrams, to detailed red papers, and so forth. I'm going to put an asterisk here. Oh, I did. Down below here and highlighted, this all changes, not all, but a lot of changes are going to happen in July 2020, and I want to make sure that you're aware of those. Okay. So with that, I'm going to pause, and I will answer any questions that you have about chatbots and the direction that PeopleSoft is going with chatbots.
So Dave, we only have one question so far that's come in, and I answered it online, but I'll just bring it up again here. So is PDA, I think they meant ODA, is PDA necessary to use, is ODA necessary to use chatbots, or can it be used from within on-prem PeopleSoft environment. And I think Dave covered that. ODA is required. Of course, you could, I mean, to take advantage of all the things that we built for you to integrate with the chat platform, ODA is a requirement.
And yes, you can use it with your on-premises PeopleSoft app. And the way you do that is you connect through these channels. And so the channel connection from PeopleSoft to ODA is going to be the HTTP, right? So it's basically a web-based channel, and that's the call that's back and forth between PeopleSoft. We do have in our roadmap a text channel, so you would pick up any texting, whether it's on your computer, whether it's on your phone, and send texts to a dedicated number that was the backend chatbot, and you can have a conversation that way.
Yeah, and incidentally, whether it's on-prem or if PeopleSoft is deployed on OCI, that channel is the same.
Yeah, OCI being Oracle Cloud Infrastructure.
Right.
Great, thank you guys. Let's see. For folks on the phone, just a quick reminder, any other questions, drop them to the question module. Dave or Matthew, before we sign off, anything you want to leave the audience?
No, I just want to reemphasize what I said before, and that is that chatbots are they're a way of turning the user interface inside out. I have personally started using chatbots anytime I go to, whatever, an external website, whatever it may be, and I see, I look to the lower right and I'm looking for that chatbot, and if I see it, I immediately go there and I expect it to provide what I want out of that site, whether it's, whatever, my banking site or insurance site or whatever it is. And I've found them to be very, very good. And I think that over time we're going to see the same benefits come into PeopleSoft systems that we see in these other apps.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd add too is, as Dave mentioned, there are a lot of sessions out there on chatbots, and the Friday session would be interesting for people, I think, especially to get more information on ODA. It's quite a slick tool, and it gives you a lot of power and a lot of options. So you might want to look at that Friday session.
Great, thank you guys very much. Yeah, for the folks on the phone, there are quite a few sessions, and feel free to use the agenda builder and search for them. And then also know that if you can't attend one, we have sessions recorded for post-consumption as well. So Dave and Matthew, no other questions have come in. So thank you guys for taking the time to present with us on chatbots and partnering with us on the Quest Forum digital event. I believe you guys both still have some few sessions, so we'll see you on a couple of more sessions later this week and maybe even today. Thank you guys for the folks on the phone for joining us today, and we'll follow up with you guys shortly on how to access this recording and other recordings from Quest Forum digital event. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.